What's up, Roadrunners? My name is Enrique Medina, and we welcome you to this week's episode of The Sportsrunner. In this week's episode, we give you the latest on some injuries in the NBA, more on the quarterfinal draw in the UEFA Champions League, the most recent in spring training action in Major League Baseball, and recent signings at the NFL's free agency start. This and more in this week's episode of The Sportsrunner. With that said, we begin our show with our weekly recaps with Sportsrunner Weekly. Justin, out to you with the latest on NBA news.
Hello, my name is Justin Gomez, and I am here for your weekly NBA recap. To start things off, we have Golden State Warriors star Stephen Curry recently hurting his back in a game against the Houston Rockets. Without the Golden State Warriors superstar, I don't believe that the team has a chance to make the playoffs, so that kind of sucks for the team. More on some injuries, we have Lakers star Anthony Davis still out, we have Nets star Kevin Durant still out, and now we have 76ers superstar Joel Embiid, who has been a leading candidate for MVP all season, who recently got hurt. Next up, we have some trades that went down recently. To start things off, we have the Bucks getting PJ Tucker from the Houston Rockets. I believe this is a big pickup for the Bucks as it adds more depth into their bench and could bring more solid defense to the team. Next, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder trading Trevor Ariza to the Miami Heat. I believe this is a W for the Miami Heat because he adds more help for Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, which I feel like they need. Before the trade deadline hits, I expect teams like the Los Angeles Lakers, Los Angeles Clippers, and the Golden State Warriors to make some moves for their last playoff run. Next up, we have some highlights. First one is Luka Doncic no-look dime to Tim Hardaway Jr. for 3. And when you look at this highlight, it looks like Luka Doncic literally has eyes in the back of his head. Next up, we have Denver Nuggets star Jamal Murray hitting a step-back corner 3 to tie the game against the Chicago Bulls and send to overtime. This would eventually lead to the Denver Nuggets' victory over the Bulls. Lastly, we have rookie Anthony Edwards dropping a career-high 42 points against the Phoenix Suns. This, of course, led to the victory for the Minnesota Timberwolves. Again, my name is Justin Gomez, and this has been your weekly NBA recap.
Hello Roadrunners, my name is Fernando Ramos, and in this week's episode we will be covering the draw for the Champions League quarterfinals. Manchester City, Borussia Dortmund, Chelsea, Porto, Madrid, Liverpool, Bayern Munich, and PSG are the last 8 teams left in the competition. The Champions League draw was held on Friday, March 19th, and there's some exciting games for the quarterfinals. The first game of these quarterfinals will be held by Pep Guardiola's Manchester City and a Borussia Dortmund side led by Erling Haaland. Manchester City are huge favorites to take the Champions League this season, however, don't take anything away from Borussia Dortmund's Haaland side as they can surprise anybody. Borussia Dortmund are known for knocking out big sides in the Champions League, and Manchester City isn't any different. Next up in the draw is Chelsea and FC Porto. Although Porto have come off a good round of 16 tie against Juventus, they're going to have a lot of work to do to try to take down Thomas Tuchel's new-look Chelsea side. Chelsea are still unbeaten under Thomas Tuchel, and they look to continue that form against Porto. Next up, we have a repeat of the 2018 Champions League final against Madrid and Liverpool. Although both of them have been torn apart by injuries and not doing so well in their domestic competitions, this is their chance to turn around their seasons. Finally, we have last season's Champions League final, Bayern Munich vs PSG. This wraps up this week's coverage. On to the next sport.
Thank you, Fernando, for the latest on soccer news. Now switching on to baseball and the MLB. We had lots of things occur with just under 2 weeks left until Major League Baseball's opening day. First, we start off with the latest spring training action. We saw Los Angeles Dodgers shortstop Corey Seager have another big week with the bat. Seager hit 2 home runs on Monday the 15th against Colorado and hit another one on Sunday afternoon against the San Francisco Giants. This now puts his total now to 6 home runs during spring training, the most by any Major League Baseball player in spring training this far. We also saw the return of Cody Bellinger for the reigning World Series champion Los Angeles Dodgers this week. Bellinger returns to a Dodgers lineup after rehabbing from right shoulder surgery this offseason that you may recall he did injure during the postseason in Game 7 of the NLCS against Atlanta. What was a little bit different, though, on Bellinger's behalf was the new batting stance. Bellinger's new stance has his front foot more open, and it may just help him even better at the plate, as he already homered on Thursday afternoon against Arizona Diamondbacks. This week also saw New Mets shortstop Francisco Lindor hit a two-run home run off of Nationals ace Max Scherzer in the fifth inning of Sunday's game to back 4 2/3 strong from Jacob deGrom. With Lindor, recent rumors have also swirled that his cap is wanting well north of $300 million to keep the shortstop around in the Big Apple. This according to MLB insider John Heyman. The shortstop also set his deadline for opening day to negotiate some sort of extension. If not, it's looking like he will test the free agency waters at season's end. But whether he decides to actually negotiate a deal during the season still remains to be seen on the Mets' behalf. In other contract news this week, longtime Royals catcher Salvador Perez agreed to a 4-year contract extension worth $82 million. This deal does have a team option for a 5th year that could make the deal worth up to $93.5 million. And I will note and remind you that Salvador Perez is a 6-time All-Star, 2015 World Series champion, a series in which he won World Series MVP. Last week, we also saw a lot of managers name their opening day starters. That list increased this week. That list includes Luis Castillo for the Cincinnati Reds, Lucas Giolito for the Chicago White Sox, and longtime veteran Zach Greinke for the Houston Astros. You can see more on teams' opening day starters below with an article linked in the description box. We'll switch things now onto some college baseball. Jack Leiter, son of retired big leaguer and now MLB Network studio analyst Al Leiter, pitched a 16-strikeout no-hitter on Saturday for Vanderbilt. Leiter is one of the top prospects going into this year's Major League Baseball draft and has impressed many along with fellow Vanderbilt starter Kumar Rocker. This week also saw some more insane production from the Angels' Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani, a two-way player who pitches and hits, hit a gargantuan home run off of the reigning American League Cy Young Award winner Shane Bieber. Ohtani has been very efficient both with the bat, but especially with the pitching, after struggling the past 2 seasons with injuries. Ohtani even noted that he would really enjoy the idea of pitching and hitting in the same game, which he still has not done up to this point in his major league career, but that definitely would be really cool if you ask me. With that said, that officially concludes our weekly recap for baseball and the MLB. Out to you, Luke, with more on football.
What's up, Roadrunners? It's Luke, and here's another NFL recap. We start off with the retirement of Drew Brees. Man, what a career this guy's had. He's number 1 overall in passing yards. He's number 2 in passing touchdowns. And he's probably going to end up as maybe the top 5 quarterback of all time. Dude's had a crazy career. It's going to be interesting maybe after a few years after his retirement settles how the city of New Orleans is going to feel about him and Sean Payton. You know, you have a great quarterback with a really good coach and you only won 1 Super Bowl. It's going to be very interesting what the conversation is going to be around time when he's going to be inducted to the Hall of Fame. Personally, I still think he's going to be a top 5 quarterback. The stats prove it. I mean, 1 Super Bowl proves it. He's been a model citizen, and he's just been a baller. So I think he's a top 5 quarterback. But kudos, or just much appreciation to Drew Brees, and he's had a great career. But now we're going to go into free agency, and it has been insane so far. Man, Patriots have just run the game. It's been the Patriots all the time. They've landed all the big names, starting with tight end Hunter Henry, tight end Jonnu Smith, which are insane pickups because Cam Newton really loves to throw to his tight ends. We've seen it during his time with the Panthers. We've seen it back in Auburn. And now that you give him 2 really good tight ends that can not only block but just make big plays downfield is very huge for him. They also signed offensive tackle Trent Brown from the Raiders. They made him the highest paid tackle in the league right now. It's a $10K deal. He deserves it. He is one of the top tackles in the league right now. And man, what a big upgrade for Cam Newton right at this moment. And they also picked up Nelson Aguilar from the Raiders. This dude revived his career at the Raiders. Philly fans just kept bashing on this dude, saying he could drop too many balls, he wasn't consistent, and now here he is getting his money, going to a very good team, and pretty much is in contention for a Super Bowl because he's playing with Coach Bill Belichick. It also helps out that Dante Hightower came back. He sat up the previous season because of COVID, but now he feels safe, he's ready, and that just helps out that defense. And people forget that this was a 7-9 team that almost beat the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. I know the AFC is a lot stacked now, but don't doubt out Bill Belichick. He is a GOAT. He is the GOAT head coach, and he's just going to prove a lot of haters wrong, and the Patriots are going to be a must-see team up this upcoming season. Arizona Cardinals, they made another big move. They picked up A.J. Green to add to that receiver core with Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald, A.J. Green, and DeAndre Hopkins. It's looking pretty good right now for the Cardinals. They haven't really addressed their offensive line issue, which I think is pretty important to them right now, but it's all right. Questions about AJ Green are still up there. He hasn't really been able to play. He kind of bashed on the Bengals, and that's not really cool when you bring in Joe Burrow, of all people, come into the team. But we'll have to see if he has any gas in the tank, if he can even stay healthy. Same questions pretty much with J.J. Watt, whether these veterans could stay healthy and if they can actually contribute to the team. We're just going to have to wait and see, but a lot of hype is building around the Cardinals right now. And lastly, of course, what other team to end with than the Bears? They fumbled the bag, to say the least. As I've been covering during this show, they've been in high pursuits over Russell Wilson, saying that they're going to give everything for this guy, and they really did try. They offered 3 first-round picks, 1 third-round pick, and 2 starters, which is insane, and the Seattle still turned it down. But Bears fans, I feel sorry for you. They ended up picking up Andy Dalton, which I'm pretty happy with. He stunk it up for my Cowboys. I was really disappointed in him. But hey, Bears, you guys got your quarterback. I know not what you wanted, but it sucks. But man, this free agency has been incredible. It's only going to keep heating up, even though Patriots took most of the big names off the board already. It's going to be a great NFL season, and I can't wait to see it. And thank you for tuning into Sportsrunner.
A lot of great news from this week's weekly recaps, but let's get to hear a little bit more about the subjects we talked about this week in Sportsrunner Weekly with the Sportsrunner Digest. Hello, Roadrunners. We welcome you to another segment of the Sportsrunner Digest, where we're going to digest a little bit more of that information you heard in our weekly recaps in more detail. So, Justin, let's start off with you in the NBA. Tell us what's going on.
Yeah, for this week, we got some tragic news for Lakers fans. Their superstar LeBron James went down with a high right ankle sprain, and as of now, it's uncertain when he'll come back. But this really hurts the Lakers, like a playoff run, because right now they're second in the West, and without LeBron now, without AD, I think their point guard Schroeder even got hurt during that same game LeBron did. It is unsure whether it'll end up with by the end of the season, and I just want to know your guys' thoughts, how you think the Lakers will do without him.
Well, I think as you said, LeBron is their star man. I think he has that effect on the whole team. When he's not there, his leadership, his quality is gonna affect the whole team. Bring the team down a little bit.
Yeah, on top of that, like you mentioned, his leadership, it kind of feels like he's the one who makes everything happen. It all starts and ends with him. We saw what happened to the squad back in the 18-19 season, his first season with them, when he got hurt during that Christmas Day game against the Warriors. So definitely for Lakers Nation, I am fearful to see what will happen. Hopefully it's nothing really serious that might end his season or might have him out for a huge load of time. Hopefully it isn't anything too serious and that he could be back for the stretch run.
Yeah, and then I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but when LeBron came into the Lakers, the Lakers, did they win the season after the season that he won?
After.
Second season.
Yeah, he had a huge effect on the Lakers, and that'll take a toll on the rest of the games without him.
Yeah, I mean, LeBron's almost the closest thing we have to Superman right now. I'm pretty sure he'll bounce back very soon, maybe down the stretch. It is going to suck for the Lakers, maybe mess up their seeding. Could maybe even get them out of the West because we know the West is very competitive. The timetable keeps changing for Anthony Davis too, so we don't even know when exactly LeBron or AD will be back. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, and especially in the West. Now that the Lakers are down bad, we're going to see who's going to come out on top and who maybe puts them at a lower seed or kicks them out of the playoffs entirely.
It was an ankle injury, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it was a high right ankle sprain.
Ooh. Do you think is it actually anything bad? I haven't looked at it too much, but
Usually sprained ankles aren't that bad. It'd be like a
okay.
few weeks, maybe like a month max of him being out, just like resting it. But as of right now, that's all we know. So hopefully it's not anything more major.
Okay.
We're just like a few weeks out.
But then
Yeah.
again, a sprained ankle is like a quarterback with his arm. You in basketball, you use your ankles a lot. So I think depending on how severe the injury is, he might not even come back the same as he was.
Yeah, I mean the push-off power, to jump, get rebounds, dunk, things like that, jump shots. Hopefully it doesn't affect him too much, or hopefully he's not putting too much pressure on it. Yeah, it's a nerve-wracking time, and I'm hoping it doesn't become something that's reoccurring. But LeBron's LeBron. He knows how to take care of his body. They have the top-notch doctors, team doctors, nutritionists, things like that. So I'm thinking he could come back strong. I think he'll be fine. I think the Lakers will be fine. I think more than that, I think the concern might be with AD. Let's see if that doesn't become something too big. But yeah, I think hopefully with LeBron it'll be good. I think he'll be fine. I'm more nervous about AD, honestly, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah. Well, let's move on into our next topic. Fernando, give us more about soccer. What you got?
So this past weekend we had the Champions League draw for the quarterfinals. I know the teams that came in, the teams that qualified were Manchester City, Chelsea, Real Madrid, Bayern Munich, PSG, Liverpool, Porto, and Borussia Dortmund. Man City got paired up with Borussia Dortmund. Chelsea got paired up with Porto. Sorry, Madrid and Liverpool, and then last season's final Bayern Munich, PSG. I know.
Yeah.
Enrique, what do you think about the draw?
I think that Real Madrid Liverpool one's going to be really interesting to keep an eye out on, especially considering it was the 2018 Champions League final, and we know what happened with Sergio Ramos and Mohamed Salah. The injury he had. A lot of Liverpool fans really kind of have hate towards Sergio Ramos because of that injury. It looks like he kind of forced on Mohamed Salah.
Right.
It'll be interesting to see that matchup again. Both teams have kind of had their ups and downs throughout the season. So two teams in really similar situations. They've had a lot of injuries if you think about it. Both teams.
Yeah, both teams are very injured.
Yeah, Van Dijk, Carvajal, even recently Ramos, but he's back. But
yeah,
I think that's the matchup that stands out most to me for this quarterfinals. I think a one that might be going under the radar might be Borussia Dortmund versus Manchester City. Yeah. But let me know about your thoughts about the draw.
Well, for me, my personal favorite, the one that I'm most excited to watch is the Bayern Munich Chelsea game. I know I'm Bayern Munich. PSG, sorry.
Yeah.
Bayern Munich PSG, it was last season's final. PSG are looking to get revenge from last season's final. They just come off an amazing win against Barcelona, beating them 6-2 aggregate score. So I think that'll be a really good game. Even the Borussia Dortmund Manchester City game, like you said, Manchester City have been playing really good right now. For me, they're the best team in Europe. But you have Borussia Dortmund who have players like Erling Haaland, like Jadon Sancho, who have the capability to take, to beat any other team in Europe. So I think that's gonna be a really good game.
And I think a part of me with that matchup, the reason I'm not giving Manchester City like a for sure victory is just because what we've seen in the past, they've always had some pretty dominant teams. And, we've seen time and time and again, they've been losing the quarterfinal, semifinal. We know last year, I think it was with Lyon, correct me if I'm wrong, but, they were expected to take that game easily and, they didn't win. So a part of me just can't for sure settle on them moving on to the semifinal, but it'll be interesting to see, especially with Haaland for Borussia Dortmund, who's an absolute goal scoring machine.
Sorry to cut you off, but I think that the difference between this season from previous seasons with Manchester City is that I think Pep Guardiola finally has found his dream defensive line. I know they struggle with their left back, but with Kyle Walker, with John Stones and Ruben Diaz as their back three, I think they form such a good partnership, and you can see it in the Premier League this season that they just can't. The teams can't get past them, and I think that's the difference. That's gonna be the difference between this season and previous seasons with Manchester City.
Let me leave this to you. What would be your final predictions? Who moves on to the semifinal?
I think that Manchester City will go through. I think Dortmund will give them a run for their money, but I think that the quality that Manchester City have, I think they're just gonna take it. I think Chelsea's gonna beat Porto, even though Porto come off an amazing victory against Juventus. I think that Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel, they've just been completely revolutionized. So I think Chelsea will go through. I do think Madrid is gonna be Liverpool, just because of how many injuries both teams have, but just how big and severe Liverpool have injuries with Virgil van Dijk, with their captain Henderson being out for a long time. So I think Madrid will pass, and with Bayern Munich and PSG, look, I like PSG, and I think they have very exciting players, but I just don't see anybody beating Bayern Munich right now. I think they're, a little bit behind Manchester City in my opinion, but they have Robert Lewandowski, who's the best player in the world right now. So I think Bayern Munich will go past. So
for me, I'd pick the exact same teams pretty much for the exact same reasons. I think the one that could, if it could be wrong, might be that Manchester City Dortmund one, but I still think City moves on, and we'll see how that'll go. So let's move on into our next topic. We have baseball news. For this week, there wasn't a whole lot going on, but in spring training action, we've seen almost a revitalized Shohei Ohtani from the Los Angeles Angels. He is both, for those of you who don't know, he's a two-way player. He's a pitcher, and he's also a hitter, a designated hitter for the Angels. So what that means, pretty much for the Angels, they kind of set a given day for him to start to pitch. That day that he pitches, he won't actually be in the lineup to hit. And then pretty much all the other days, he'll maybe get like one off day during the week, and then the rest of the days he'll be the designated hitter. In 2018, his rookie year, he actually won Rookie of the Year, for these reasons. I mean, it's absolutely insane to think that somebody could actually both pitch and hit at a pretty high level. And he's a really good pitcher and hitter at both. He's insane. 2019 and in 2020, he had a lot of nagging injuries, specifically for him as a pitcher. But even though he had those injuries, it's crazy to think he wasn't out for the year. He was out for the year as a pitcher, but he still had contributions hitting because he could still be a designated hitter. And, finally this season, it finally looks like he's back to normal, back and healthy. His velocity was going down the past 2 seasons, but it looks like it's gone back to normal, upper 90s, even close to 100 miles per hour. And he's been looking really good at the plate. Specifically last week, he had an at-bat against Shane Bieber, who was the Cy Young winner last year in the American League, which is pretty much the award for the best pitcher in each league. And he hit a 465-foot plus home run off of him to straight center field. So I want to get your guys' opinion on your guys' thoughts of kind of the two-way thing, and see if it's maybe if there's a certain way they should go about it. Should they be careful with him considering he has gone through these injuries? Kind of how would you guys kind of deal with the situation?
Well, for me, like, it's very rare in the MLB to see like pitchers and a pitcher that's really good at hitting too.
Mm-hmm.
But to have that kind of talent, I think Angels should take like full advantage of that. I think how they're talking about like, he pitches one day, but he's not in the lineup to bat, and other days. I think that's the right way to go about it, but they gotta be like real cautious of like when like you don't have him pitch and then the next game throw him at bat, maybe give him like a game break or something. And just make sure like you monitor him during practices and like stuff like that in between games on road trips. And then this should be fine to use him.
Yeah, the dude sounds like a stud. I've never heard of that before, like, and as far as baseball goes. And I mean, it sounds like the team is handling it the right way, have him pitch one game, then like sit out the next and then have him back in batting. I mean, he knows how to take care of his own body. I'm pretty sure he has a good like team around him, a good medical team as well. He'll take care of himself. I mean, he already accomplished like a good amount, like his rookie year, like,
he has a high ceiling, and he'll take care of himself. I'm pretty sure he'll bounce back. The dude's too talented to rush back in there and get hurt again.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing that I know Justin said that I agree with is that the Angels need to be careful, like whether the day they give them a rest day, they need a pitcher or vice versa. They just really need to take care of that. Make sure they keep an eye on that as well.
Look, I'll ask this to you guys too, because he did. I saw a quote earlier on Twitter of him saying that at some point he would like to pitch and hit in the same game, same day. Do you guys think that's too risky?
I think it would have to depend on like the meaning of the game. Like, say it's like World Series or like a playoff game, then maybe like you take that risk and let him do that. I think during the season, like you don't need to like pressure him to do that. Just let him relax, get his groove back, and then he can maybe do it in the playoffs.
Interesting. He did mention how that really helps his confidence. And I really like how you bring that up because, there's still that medical part of it, injury factor. But he did mention how much it helps out his confidence. So I'm curious to see you, Luke, and Fernando, to see if you guys would let him do something like that, or if you have a similar stance as Justin.
Oh, go ahead.
I agree with Justin. If it's like a during the season game, I take that risk. But if you're gonna be like in the World Series game where you need him, then yeah, I say why not go for it.
Yeah, I agree with Justin and Fernando. Like it's don't do something like that in a meaningless game. I mean, obviously, if it's like a close series in the postseason, or if it is in fact like for the championship, then by all means, like let one of your best players, like go do what he's best at, which is hitting and pitching. So, yeah, don't rush it. Just let it be in a meaningful game.
Yeah, honestly, totally agree with you guys. Just with the injury history too, you don't want to force anything. So you got to make sure you're careful with him. In big games, and all for it for sure. But with that said, we move on now to football, the NFL. Luke, go for it.
So NFL free agency, it's happening right now. This is when a lot of free agents are, going to new teams. Like we see some like top names go to other teams. We see some just good role players join teams that help up, the team and create depth. Who completely stole the show this past week is the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick is just showing like why he's probably the GOAT as far as NFL coaching. They got wide receiver Nelson Aguilar, who revived his career back with the Raiders. They got offensive tackle Trent Brown, which is really great for Cam Newton. He really needs a better offensive line to keep him healthy and to show how much like he's improved and gotten better. They also got Jonnu Smith, a great tight end for the Titans. Cam likes to throw to his tight ends. We all know that. We saw that with Greg Olsen and his time during Auburn. They also got back Kyle Van Noy. He used to play for the Patriots. He went to Miami, did really good over there, and decided to join back. They just completely stacked their team again. They got some familiar faces, and they just got complete upgrades. And it's looking like the Patriots might be back.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like they've revitalized themselves in so many positions. I mean, Hunter Henry too at tight end. Imagine how much Cam likes to throw to his tight ends. I'm curious to see performance itself from Cam Newton. Last year he was kind of like maybe slightly above average maybe you could say. Definitely with the new lineman he has, it will help him out. I'm curious to see if that'll still make a huge difference offensively, even with the new weapons he has, because at the end of the day, the quarterback's the dude who makes the throws. I'm curious to see how much that will actually take into effect.
Yeah, I can't wait to see like how they do during the season. Actually, like you guys talking about like Cam Newton like last season, like he was okay, like he was average at like best. But if you can go back to like that Panthers form, like damn near MVP form, and it'll be interesting to see if the Patriots go far. And if the Patriots do go far, possible Super Bowl win or like even make a Super Bowl, I think that will like solidify like Belichick is like the best coach of all time.
Right. And then like it's like with when Tom Brady was at the Patriots, they won a lot, and then I haven't. Well, I'm not really being into football, but I'm not sure if they. I know they haven't won the Super Bowl since he left. Tom Brady's over here in Florida winning Super Bowls with the Bucks. So I want to see if if Cam Newton can win a Super Bowl with the Patriots. I think that'll, like you said, it will solidify the coach's how do you say,
Legacy for sure. His
yeah.
legacy, yeah. Yeah, you know what? Thinking about that, yeah, that would be absolutely bonkers if he does manage to somehow, maybe even like a deep playoff run. Like even that would be super impressive to do with the squad he has now. To move away from Brady and all that, and to show he doesn't need him, that would be absolutely great for Coach Belichick's legacy, and it would be absolutely unbelievable. I think something we wouldn't expect, and even considering we got Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, they somehow managed to get past them, or maybe even the Bills. I mean, that's absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's also like crazy to think that they went 7-9 last season, but they almost beat the Chiefs and other really good teams out of the AFC. They're a well-coached team. Bill Belichick's a GOAT, and now they just reloaded. And the team, they had really good players that opted out last season due to COVID, like Dante Hightower and other defensive players and offensive linemen. No, they're coming back and be like, hey, we're ready to hit the ground running. And but you're right. The biggest question right now is Cam Newton, whether or not he's fully healthy, whether he could go back to MVP Cam Newton. We're going to see if maybe they're just a quarterback shy from being contenders again, or if Cam Newton actually has enough gas in the tank to get him to that Super Bowl contention.
What do you think is your final expectation, prediction for the Patriots, considering all these moves they've made so far?
They still have the Chiefs to beat. I think the Chiefs are always going to be the favorites out of the AFC. The Bills got a whole lot better, so it's not a cakewalk division for them anymore. You also have the Ravens too, but like I said, Belichick's probably one of the greatest coaches of all time. It's been a well-coached team even when they were bad last season, and I expect them to make the playoffs for sure.
Cool. I was going to ask that. And, the AFC seems deeper than it's had in years past. And you got the Steelers and other teams, and it's quite frankly, it's going to be super interesting this season, especially with that little Bills. Let's see how much of a rivalry that kind of becomes. So it'll be interesting to see for sure. Do you guys have anything else to add on that?
I mean, we've already seen that Brady can do it without the Patriots. Let's see what the Patriots can do without Brady. So
yeah, cool. Well, that's gonna wrap up this segment of the Sportsrunner Digest. Again, thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Enrique Medina, joined by Luke Perez, Fernando Ramos, and Justin Gomez. Thank you guys. Unfortunately, Roadrunners, we did not have the chance to interview a Rio Hondo College athlete this week, so you have to tune in into our next episode for our next discussion with a Rio Hondo College athlete with the Sportsrunner Spotlight. But with that said, that officially puts a conclusion to this week's episode of The Sportsrunner. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to be notified for future Sportsrunner episodes. You can also check this episode out on our website, elpaisanoonline.com. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at elpaimedia. On behalf of our team, I'm Enrique Medina. Thank you for watching this week's episode of The Sportsrunner. I'll see you next week. Peace.